There is one other participant in the conference. The recording has started.
All right, I want to welcome you all to the call. Let me make sure mic's on everything. Go ahead and I think I should have mic on here. Excuse me. Okay. I want to welcome you all to the call. Make sure that you please put your, at least your first name in the chat and what county on Indiana that you are living on today, and so we can welcome you to the call. I am Christine Van Pelt, State Coordinator, Lead Recording Secretary for the Indiana Assembly. I welcome you to our new General Member Orientation. This is session number 3. And so I want to thank you if you've been able to attend all three, or at least been able to go back to watch the review. I do want to remind you that while the reviews, being able to come back to the recordings are amazing tools to be able to come back to and be able to take notes from and everything, but really where it's really going to take action for you and really kick in as to how it's going to help you the most, give you the most benefit, is going to be actually showing up on the calls and actually start on the live calls and start engaging in the chat, getting and even coming into a free conference call where you can actually communicate and engage on the call in that manner. That's really where you'll start seeing the changes actually happen. And then use the recordings as your supplement to be able to go back to do those hard dives and getting more study information, okay? So just wanted to get some of that out there for you. All right, so let's go ahead and get things going. All right. A reminder again, put at least your first name and what county that you're on Indiana, where you live today. All right, we'll proceed with the Bivens decision. This is a public meeting. Anyone in this meeting claiming any form of U.S. citizenship or employment with any federal agency is now, for the next segment of this gathering, new member orientation class, invited to either declare your presence and business here, or we ask you to leave the class at this time. It's not that you're not welcome, but you do need to declare yourself up front, so we're all aware. Okay? All right, let's see. And you can post it in the comment if you are, or if you are in a space, I think I'm able to do, if you're in Telegram, I can end up giving comments, but okay. All right, welcome Wayne and Terry on Miami County. Welcome. I want to welcome you all. They're on free conference call with us. So great job. Thank you for coming for the call. Again, this is where you start actually seeing the magic happen, is when you actually get into the live calls. And this is where we have to remind everyone that, again, this is of, by, and for the people. So if you're not doing it, who is? Okay, hearing and seeing none to the Bivens decision for the first time, I'll repeat, if you are a U.S. citizen or an undeclared federal agent, please raise your hands or vacate our gathering. Hearing and seeing none. All right. And then for the third and final time, this is notice that if you don't respond appropriately to this Bivens declaration immediately, you are made fully liable for your lack of disclosure, and any so-called evidence that you collect is tainted and inadmissible. No one can attend any of our meetings in secret or in private without answering to a roll call or without announcing or declaring their presence. Okay, so get used to the Bivens decision, because you're going to hear it in many calls leading the calls. Okay, this is for your protection as well as for the Assembly's protection. All right, so a summary from the last class. 4 pillars recommended committees for the General Assembly, General Assembly, International Business Assembly, and Community Response Team, which is also another term for the Militia Assembly. Many think militia automatically relates to National Guard, and that is the reverse image that they gave it. So of what the role of the militia is for. So this is why you have to realize that every one of us, every man, woman, and child, we are the people, right? Lowercase people and uppercase people are here. We're here to protect and serve our community. It is a public duty as well. Indiana Assembly officers at the state and county levels. So we went through those in the previous call. Now, for this call, we've got DeFacto versus DeJure, self-governance, and how it applies to you. At the end of this session, we'll ask for a discussion on the topic. if the time permits, because we do have the General Assembly and Militia Assembly call at 6 p.m. Central. The call shouldn't last too long. It shouldn't last the full 2 hours, but it's the also making sure that I've got prep time to get into that assembly call. Okay, so self-governance training call Sundays most weeks, but if you go to the 50 state site or the TASA site, the American States Assembly site, it has where all the open calls that are across the nation. We'll go through disclaimer, the truth, Regulation Z defined, and we're going to go through a travel video. And bear in mind, there are many out there that are trying to leap to do different parts of the process because they're sure they're going to be able to do it differently and get out of having to do all of the steps that are necessary. And they're finding themselves getting into more trouble. So pay attention. You are being given the guidance. You are not out there alone. Where you need to get recognition is you have to still do the homework. We can bring it to you, but we can't pour it into your head as to how you're going to be able to put that together. So while you're so busy trying to tap dance around the state, thinking you're hiding and dodging them and getting away from everything, you're actually causing more harm than good. It's time to stand up as an American and actually stand up and face what's going on and do it correctly. Okay? And if you're not able to articulate it, then you need to hold off. You need to wait until you have more knowledge to be able to stand firm in your knowledge. Stop thinking you're out there alone, though, too. Because you're acting as though you're alone, but you're trying to claim something that you haven't decided to get on full board with. So, mental breakthroughs you've got to come get to. Okay, DeFacto versus DeJure. It takes much study, much learning, much self-discipline to start changing your mindset. This is what we're dealing with. We have to break through the indoctrination. Mind controlled, we've been mind controlled our entire lives, even those of us who've been mostly alert and awake to the deception. It's still real easy to slip right back into that. But every time you do, even the subtlest, because we were told the devil is in the details, even though you think it's just something minor, oh, that's nothing big, that shouldn't make a difference, that may be your key right there. That if you didn't do that because you wanted to cut corners and save time, it didn't happen overnight, but yet you think you're going to get that recognized, but don't. Recognize, but don't. We're learning to operate in the DeJure government, our actual government, every day by practicing it. That means you have to come together and actually practice it. Don't try being out there on your own because you don't know how to do it out there on your own. You're being given the guidance, but again, you have to actually you have to come to the table. You have to do some homework to actually start acting and practicing it out every day. The more we practice that reality, the more we bring others into truth. Either you're going to stand with truth or you're going to still dance around with the lies. Dancing around with the lies belongs at the territorial or municipal assembly. You can still status correct, still put your paperwork on the record to status correct as a national, and you can still have access to all the other support systems and everything. But you really need to go to a territorial or municipal assembly at that point. Because that's where you're going to get your most benefit. But that means you have to also commit to that as well. But as a state national, you can have that, but not as a state citizen. We the people, and you have to realize, who do you want to be? What do you want to be? Every time you go to your public servants and not allow them to bully you, it's bringing them into the DeJure reality. It takes a bit of time to get there, but you will get there. peacefully and lawfully. We stand our ground and operate in the DeJure reality, not the DeFacto fiction. And again, going it alone is exactly what they want you to do, because remember, united we stand, divided we fall. And that's their whole purpose, is to get you to stay separated out. They don't want you to get locked in with we the people, to actually see how to do this and have each other to strengthen your community, to actually strengthen each other and help support each other so you can all stand against evil. This is where you're going to have to stop trying to be alone, because that's their whole goal and purpose, is to get you alone. We the people, again, we the people means we all come together. It's not that we're standing alone. If you feel like you're standing alone, it's because you're choosing not to come to the table to participate. We the people are the ones we have been waiting for to save ourselves, our country, and the world. We the people, that's what that means. Articles on self-governance. The first choices that come readily to mind once you realize that you're a slave, or at best an indentured servant, are not comforting at all. There's those that are in continued peonage and enslavement, or there's suicidal armed insurrection, or they're in that fight. Or you have a fourth choice. You can actually self-govern yourself, and you wouldn't have to deal with any of that. But that's the hard part, because then you have to face yourself as to what things you're not doing correctly yourself, and that you have to make changes. You have to make changes. Remember, the golden rule is to love thy neighbor as thyself. If you want them to change, if you want to be treated better, do you want that respect of being a state national? Be it. That's the only way you're going to be able to get it, is to be it. Either you stand in truth, or you lay down for every lie that comes about. Article 2540, and for some reason I'm not sure why, but I think it links to 2541 as well. But there's a link for additional articles on self-governance, and Article 2508, self-governance for the rest of us. So that means also you're being given the links directly in topic orders, subject orders, so you can be able to find it. But you have to take that one, you have to get in the PDF too and click on the links, or copy and paste it and go there and read it. You have to embody it in to become it. Just like when you start any new job out there, you get a form of a uniform that you start getting into that mindset. Oh, hold on. Thank you. Hold on. Let me see. This would be helpful, wouldn't it? Is that better? Is that better, Wayne? Hopefully. Sorry about that. Thank you. Thank you very much. See, and that's helping to support. That's helping each other, coming together. I'm not on that side, so I'm not actually going to be able to see. So that is amazingly helpful. Yes. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Okay, how do I close that up so it's not... Okay. Let me just move this down for right now. Okay. All right. So, here we go. Again, here are links on self-governance. Okay? A little more on self-governance. On one hand, it's a very simple concept. On the other hand, putting it to use is a great big subject. Just like with learning a new job, you have to actually start, you know, if you have certain lines that you have to remember, if you're a customer service and you have to answer in a certain way, you're going to start doing little things to help you memorize it, right? You have to do that homework to take it in. You may have to take some training courses that they're requiring. You would do all that for a job. Well, this is learning how to actually live in self-governance. which is also, if you make sure that your assembly email address is correct and go to the assembly website and make sure you go there to update your email address. We've had to do some changes with the email server because of anti-spam policies and filtering of some of the email server users, so providers. So please make sure, if you haven't been getting emails for a while, go to the Assembly's website to get the updated link to make sure you're getting the email addresses. And if you're still not, then connect with me and we'll see how we can figure out getting you connected so that we can make sure you're getting the information. All right, first we need to know exactly what self-governance is. We need to realize that words and their definitions are extremely important. So remember as kids when they said, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me. That was a lie. Flat out lie. Stop telling your children and grandchildren that, and if you hear it from them, course correct them. It is a lie. It is untrue. Words and their definitions have power. Not only the words are important, but how we construct our sentences, our inflection, and the body language that goes with the words. It's a whole package deal. It's all communication. And your body will give signals as to whether the words you're using and what your intent is are in alignment. The words you're using, if you're using them in the correct way that they're intended to be used, you'll see some even more power. When you're not using them correctly, when you're using them in the false terms as they're using it, and you don't even know you're using it incorrectly, you're seeing things chaotic. Power in your words and their definitions. Okay? And then pay attention to the body language. Then you learn that commonly used words are redefined in statutes, codes, and admiralty maritime jurisdiction courts. That's because they are trying to keep the illusion going. So how do we get an understanding of self-governance? Let's break down the phrase. So the following is an example of how to research a line of thought or subject. Self. An individual's typical or temporary character or behavior. A second description, the union of elements such as body, emotions, thoughts, and sensations that constitute the individuality and identity of a person. For a description, the entire person of an individual. Well, repeatedly person is used. So person, you go look up the word person. 1, human, individual, man. 2, a character or part in a play or as if in a play or a guise. Okay? So remember, there's going to be those that are true or those that are wearing a false mask. 2a, one of the 3 modes of being in the Trinitarian Godhead is understood by Christians. Second, similar to it, the body of a human being, also the body and clothing, unlawful search of the person. 3, the personality of a human being, self, which goes back to self. So in person is in one's bodily presence. So you're always in person, whether you're standing in front of somebody or remotely. You're always in person because you're within your person, within your vessel. People, a state, as the people of the state of New York or Indiana, a nation in its collective and political capacity. 4TR 783 C6 Pete, South Carolina Rep 467. And then there's also Bovier's revised 6th edition 1856 is the definition for people. So think of that, a state as the people of the state. Okay? In its terms for Bouvier. Note, person is not the singular of people. People is both singular and plural. Right? because we're not the majority, but we're also not so much the minority either. Constitutional 10th Amendment. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. To the people. This is what the Constitution states, is that by law, and Constitution is still law of the land, by Constitution, if they're not doing what they were delegated to do, it is to go back to the people. So can anyone give the difference between people and a person? So we should be able to see based, on our descriptions here that we've been given now of a definition, which is interesting because as you'll see, the more you start looking at words, even the most simplest of terms of words, and go look them up in the various dictionaries, and I'll have links here in this PDF, which on the YouTube description there is a link to this PDF, so that you can be able to see those, see different versions of various dictionaries, so that you can be able to get various types of definition. It has black claws. I think it does have black claws. It does have Bovier's, of where you can be able to look up. All right, let me check if there was any. All right. Let's get back to here. Okay. All right, so then we have autonomy. A definition of the quality or state of being self-governing, especially the right of self-government. Second definition, self-directing, freedom, and especially moral independence, personal autonomy. 3, a self-governing state. We have a recognized right of self-determination. Governance, the act or process of governing or overseeing the control and direction of something, such as a country or organization or government. Right? Okay, and let's go back to autonomy for a moment as well. So while you do have the right of self-determination, it's also your behaviors and actions and what words that you use as well as to whether it's appropriate in the space that you're trying to be in. Okay, and if it's inappropriate and if it's to cause problems and it's to be unpeaceful, you'll be removed. And we too have that right of self-determination, and it's our public duty to hold others to proper behaviors, because we can't allow the kind of behaviors that have been happening to start weeding their way into here, and then it'll turn it all back into the same thing. We, the people, have to become the firm, loving parents to be able to say no, because we do love our family. We have to be that one willing to say no. So, a question for you to just ponder on is, what does self-governance mean to you? Take time to think about it. Do a little bit more study on looking up and doing that thought process of researching, and then think about, what does self-governance mean to you? So self-control over the aspects of your life is known as self-governance. So, but also take that time to think about it. Let me see. Check. Hold on. Let's see. Integrity. This is from Wayne. Integrity. Doing what's right even when no one is watching. Absolutely. And even if it's in the littlest things, the smallest things, even though, it may be we don't want to hurt Aunt Sally's feelings you don't want to hurt someone's feelings, but if it's not right, you have to speak up. Then if they choose not to move forward, they have that right of self-determination just as much. But if you don't respond, if you don't at least speak up, you've consented to it. All right. Thank you for that, Wayne. Awesome. Thank you. And Wayne is on Miami County. Wayne and Terry, Miami County. Yep. Again, welcome. All right. So let's get this back down here. Okay. So I also went through and pulled up Indiana's preamble to its constitution to do a comparison to see that similarities. Okay. The preamble to the Constitution, we the uppercase P people, which means then the citizens of the United States. So they wouldn't even have authority or standing to be, if they weren't citizens on their state, in order to be able to act as that representative to call forth this Constitution. Okay, it had to have the standing on their state to be able to even call forth the Constitution. So it's we the people are the ones of the United States bringing forth the Constitution in order, and the purpose for it in order to form a more perfect union, meaning all of us coming together, not divided, and in better space. Establish justice, not revenge, not political revenge, not personal gain revenge, anything like that, but establish justice. Ensure domestic tranquility. Provide for the common defense. Promote the general welfare and secure the blessings of liberty. And so who is that for? It's to ourselves and our posterity, meaning our children and our children's children and their children and children. Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Well, Indiana's Constitution then, because then that's taking it as bringing the representative side that comes to the from the United States as a whole. So the preamble, we the representatives of the lowercase people, because you as the uppercase people, those that are citizens, those that have canceled all any kind of licenses, any types of conflicts of interest, have only singular loyalty to your state, to be that one withstanding, to be a citizen and actually act. Because when you're taking on the term citizen, that means you already have a sense of duty that you're going to do something. Not just talk about it and then go do your own thing. You actually do it. And then you're then representing those, supporting those lowercase people that haven't done that yet. Because they still have things that they have to work through, and that's when they're ready, they will or they won't. Right? So the uppercase P are those representatives of the lowercase p of the territory of Indiana. In convention met. So it says that we met in convention at Corydon on Monday the 10th day of June in the year of our Lord, 1816. So it started in 1816 in June. And of the independence of the United States, the 40th, so we were the 40th state within the 50, having the right of admission into the general government as a member of the Union. Okay, so this is where this is the lawful, this is our first Constitution, this is the correct one, the original that we need to come back to. Consistent with the Constitution of the United States, the ordinance of the Congress of 1787, and the law of Congress entitled An Act to Enable the Lowercase People of the Indiana Territory to Form a Constitution and State Government. So take note, that was the act that enabled the lowercase p people to give them that support through the Constitution and state government, and for the admission of such state into the Union on an equal footing across with all original 13 the original 13 states, right? In order to establish justice, promote the welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty. To ourselves and our posterity do ordain and establish the following Constitution, which is the form of government, and do mutually agree with each other to form ourselves into a free and independent state by the name of the state of Indiana. All right, and that was correct terminology because our original contract was with the territorial, right? Was the original contract from the Northwest Ordinance. Okay, definitions. We talk about sovereignty, but do you know why we even have sovereignty? Let me take a moment and see if there's any comments or questions. And nothing in YouTube. Okay. Okay. Back up. Okay. So why do we even have sovereignty? We have God-given, unalienable rights. They want you to pronounce it unalienable, which to some extent is the correct terminology, but they're using that to mirror of thinking like alien, something, you're not going to be able, you can't, it's foreign from you, which is the truth, but it's more of the unalienable aspect is what they want you to miss in just changing where it is, where you change the enunciation in the word. Words are very powerful because unalienable is not quite the same as unalienable when you say it in those terms. That no man can take away from you anyway without your consent, with or without your consent, because God gave them. What God gives, no man can take away, right? You're born free on the land. You're a living being, a creation of something greater than us. You'll want to look up the Paris Peace Treaty, okay? You can do a search anywhere on any of the search engines for the Paris Treaty. Article 1, His Britannic Majesty acknowledges the said United States, viz., not sure what that means, New Hampshire, Massachusetts Bay, Rhode Island and Providence Plantations, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. So those are the original colonies. So that they even acknowledge that they have equal footing for us to come forward with it, to be free, sovereign, and independent states, that he treats with them as such, and for himself, his heirs, and successors, relinquishes all claims to the government, propriety, and territorial rights of the same in every part thereof. So this is where it's showing here that, because we, as living men and women, we follow with treaties. And this is showing where the original colonies, where they recognize them as free, sovereign, and independent states. And then through the Constitution, it's recognized, and the Declaration of Independence, it's recognized as equal footing across all the states that came together. But again, it's you coming together in union to stand together. What happened was that all the states dropped off. The only state assembly that was actually still standing was Texas. That's why Texas is holding the line for everyone to finish waking up and decide to get off the armchair or off that sofa and actually act. Actually participate and be part of we the people. Either you're going to be a lowercase people or you're going to be an uppercase people. But either way, you have to or you're going to go back to being one of their citizens. Is that the life you really want? But even as a lowercase people, there's a lot that you can be able to do to still be able to do your public duty in upholding the public law. Stop being so greedy for the next round of seeing how much money you can get, or what loopholes you can work around to cut off doing some of the process so you can cheat the system to try to do it a different way. If you just take a tenth of the energy that you put in trying to play that move the cheese game around, just a tenth of that energy in and trying to do it correctly, you would see things line up much quickly for you, and things would be much better. Because you're still living a lie, playing that hit and miss. Well, I'm going to do it this way because I can self-determine, and I'm going to do it this way because I can self-govern. I'm man on the land, I can do what I want, but you don't know, you're still keeping yourself separated when the whole point is united we stand, divided we fall. And that's what they're still trying to keep you in the mindset of, trying to keep you separate, because it's easier to topple you over and keep you quiet and while you're separated. When you come together and actually take part and get involved, you become a part of it. It helps you to grow. It helps strengthen your armor against the evil. You still have a choice. I can't do it for you. Okay, so what language? Something to make note of. There are 3 basic versions of the English language. Hold on, there's a chat. Hold on. I believe it was the CEO, Robert Kennedy, that said, ask not what the country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Truer now more than ever. Absolutely, Wayne. Thank you. True. And again, it's having people, remembering, well, what does that mean? It still means you have to do something. If you want it to change, Jesus told you, Jesus was the one that turned over the table in the temples. He didn't come here all peaceful and loving and to always turn the other cheek. He said turn the cheek 70 times 7. That was just to make sure to give them opportunity. But at some point even he said enough is enough. That is not in truth. Stop the lies. Even they had their own language, right? So there are 3 basic versions of English in America. There is common or colloquial English is what we're using right now. There's slang, something we hear regularly, which drives me crazy because words like, why would you use the word sick when you don't really mean that it's bad, it's ill? Because actually being sick has to be, an inanimate object is not necessarily going to be sick, which means you're talking about a living being. But to mean it, though, as, oh, it's great. This is not true. That is not true in any sense of the fashion. So why continue to... It seems simple, but it's a lie. It creates an illusion. Then there's legal English, i.e. the statutory definition of person, was changed in 1871 to be interchangeable with corporation. If you've ever been in the corporate courts or read congressional acts, they use common words that we're familiar with in ways that we're not familiar. And that's on purpose, often having opposite meanings. That's the split head, split tongue. To purposely keep you in illusion, in that Maya, keep you lost, keep you in that 30-second goldfish mindset. I need to see which time. Okay. In that 30-second gold, they told us in Finding Nemo. Finding Nemo. And yes, it was Ellen DeGeneres that was playing the one, but she was helping. She was learning. She was having to find ways to help herself remember longer. And she wanted to, though. That was the other part. You have to want to actually bring change. If all you're doing is running your mouth and just so you can look good to other people as though you're thinking you're making some change and you know what you're talking about, it reveals itself. It reveals itself real easy if whether you actually do what you say you do. Because there's a lot out there that are great in having those. They want to have those sit around conversations with those that they can, feel like that they can control and manipulate. But when it comes to actually coming to a table where they can actually put it into action and actually do some real service and do some good with it, oh no. Oh, I don't have time for that. But yet you had the time to sit with everybody else that you wanted to be able to have those conversations with. So think about it. Your actions don't line up with your words. Because if you even were following what you're saying, you would see it in their steps of things that they're even doing themselves. So here's where I talked about. Here are several other dictionaries that you can be able to look up. So here's Black's 4th edition Law Dictionary, Bovier's 6th edition, 1215.org has multiple dictionaries listed there. There's the 1828 Webster's Dictionary that's supposed to be similar to, it was supposed to hold a lot of content of definitions from the 1599 time period of what our founding fathers were based on, had knowledge of at the time. But as with everything, you still have to, it's online, right? You still have to be able to, they have the ability to make changes. Then there's also etymology online. I wanted to add that in because that's important to show you the history of how the words mean and how it has changed through time. All right, so here are some additional. So Anna, article 4400, our court system, this is the link to that article. She identified certain things to start getting in depth in. You'll want it because we need to get the courts in play. That's the first thing in our mission statement, is to get our public courts in play. So so here are studies that she put in that article. You can go to that article to read through it as well. But I've also gone to find those links to put them here. Again, if you come in and at least also pull up the PDFs, go in and look at the links, you'll see that you're being brought the information. It's still up to you to do that deep dive to get that knowledge. Spend several hours in a deep dive, right? And you can get intense knowledge on certain specific topics, and then you can start moving forward in that area and start as you're learning the other areas, as opposed to, well, I can't do anything until I've at least done this, and this. You're just holding yourself up. Let's get moving. And these are ways to be able to help you, but it's not only then taking it in, but in order to know that you've actually embodied it so that you can be able to practice it every day, is that you have to practice it every day. You have to start coming and joining with others, communing with others that are like-minded, that are a part of this, coming to the assembly, all the different things relative to the assembly, the different calls to be able to connect. If you're still sitting back and not even coming to the live calls, but you're watching the recordings and you're wondering, well, where is everybody? First thing you need to ask yourself is, well, why weren't you there? Why weren't you there? Where were you? Before you can, the scripture about having a piece of wood in the eye compared to a big piece of timber in your eye, right? Where were you? Well, you could be saying, well, nobody's showing up, but where were you? Before you start asking those questions. Here's the link for Benedict on Admiralty by Erastus Cornelius Benedict. Establishing the reign of natural liberty, the common law, and its courts. We're reading through that right now in the Journal Assembly, of going through that. And it's just like 27 pages. But it's also, when we finish that, then we're going to go into reading the legal case Ex parte Milligan which is the case in order to invoke to the DeFacto that our courts are up. And most are unaware that that case does occur on Indiana. And it seems to me that Indiana seems to be the one holding up the whole cart, because people on Indiana don't want to take notice of how this is supposed to work. You would think Indiana would be the light bearers leading the way. So that's where I say, well, where are you? You are a part of this. As state coordinator, I cannot do this for you. I'm doing what I can as we the people. I'm providing a lot of other support systems, and those are other ways to help serve the mission. Is for also being there to help with the support services, like helping with monitoring and even doing with postings of calls and stuff on all the social media. We're looking for state nationals to be able to support and be able to help do that. There's all kinds of ways to be able to help support. Anyway, and then she also lists, because Excellence of the Common Law, and he also has other great trainings, is Brent Allen Winters. Now, Brent Allen Winters, although he does live on Terre Haute, Indiana, he has been an acting common lawyer and training of others, not that he's been in training, but he's been teaching others for several decades. Now, I'm sure he has some form of fashion as to how he's on the record, because he's done it way back at the time of like when Anna has done hers, and maybe even a little bit further back. But his mission is not to help build the assembly. His mission is help in the training and educating to be able to help build that common law court with the state assemblies. But his role, his mission, is to do that training of how to be in common law, how that works. And so he's done that admirably, so support him in any way you can. And then bring that knowledge that you've learned from his studying and training, bring it to the assembly and help put that into action. Help us bring this into play. Okay, so here's an acronym for the word fear. It's forget everything and run, or you can face everything and rise. There's another one, is that it's false experiences appearing real. Appearing real. I found that with the Creator that if something, this has been my experience, between whether it's DeFacto trying to play the evil, trying to play the games, or if it's the Creator and Spirit being there to be supportive of me. And anything that has been subtle, it may not have been something I wanted to hear, but it still came to me in a subtle, calm, peaceful voice, but truth nonetheless. That came from Spirit, and I knew I can walk in honor with that. Anything that was putting me under a time pressure, making me feel like I was in a pressure cooker about ready to pop, and that everybody's looking here and this and doing this, I knew that was the false things. And that's when I go into God and say, okay, please help me to see your will through this. Alright, and so with fears, the difference between buffalo and cattle and how they behave when they sense a storm coming. Buffalo run into the storm. They face it. They don't dodge around. They don't try to find loopholes to go around. They run into the storm to get through it faster. Whereas cattle are the ones that actually run from it, and then they end up exhausting themselves, and they still end up in the middle of the storm anyway and have to clean up a bigger mess than what they started with, because they just didn't, they thought they were going to dance around and get out of it. Take that analogy as you will. As self-governing people, we are choosing to not sit on the sidelines of life. it's one thing in football that you can be that sideline quarterback and you're armchair quarterback or on the sofa or something and watching that game, because you know you're not going to actually be. That's a different thing. It's a whole other ball game of playing football. But this is something that you can actually do. Where are you? All right. And again, if you live on Indiana today, 6 o'clock Central today is the DeJure Assembly and Militia Assembly. Everyone's a part of the DeJure Assembly. Everyone's a part of the Militia Assembly. In various ways, but everyone that lives on Indiana today has a role to play to be able to support the assembly. Okay, so let's clarify. So self-governance is not disorderly or disruptive. It's not founded on fear and self-interest. Where self-governance is providing for ourselves and our families, being responsible, taking responsibility for our own words, our own actions, not tossing the blame on somebody else or giving some whiny excuse as to why you didn't do it. That's not being responsible. Sending a whining excuse is not taking ownership of your lack of responsibility. You have to keep your own house in order. I can't keep your house in order. I can help you with finding ways to get your house in order, even if that means giving you exercises of literally sweeping the floor of your own house each day as a practical exercise. Not only for physical help, but also to be able to help you work through that process in your mind. If that's what'll help you. But you got to remember, you got to get all of this in order. This is all our house where we're living. This is all our house. And God gave us that responsibility. And it's we, the people, that haven't shown up. This includes taking an active interest in our neighborhood. Out of necessity, we are populating our state first and county second. But it's by default at the same time, because the county is the soil and the state is the land. You can't separate the two. You can't have one without the other. Self-governance is behaving in honor. There is a difference. It's about how you show up. Knowing who you are takes time, discipline, and control. You have to have that discipline and control. I can't force you to have that discipline and control. Alright, so there's a man on Maine that has been doing a self-governance training call that's from Indiana, it's a train, to help work through the emotional, mental, physical aspects of working through the indoctrination and getting yourself into, and while you thought you were self-governing, many are under the illusion that they were self-governing, but the actuality was all they were doing was stepping to exactly everything that DeFacto state put them into. So they really weren't. They thought they were being self-governing because they were being that good little soldier, lining up to do everything that they said that you have to do, when that wasn't actually self-governing. That was just following orders out of fear and lack of knowledge, of lack of not being able to know that there are other avenues to take. Other training calls are on the same page for you to look at when you have an interest. So, and those are open calls of state, national, state citizens across the country that they're opening up to be able to help in your options to be able to give you more general education of learning how to go through this process. Alright, so of course there's always going to be homework. Even though you're not going to be turning any kind of assignment in, but this is what's going to help you in moving forward as well on your personal journey. But again, your personal journey is going to be the most supportive when you come together with others and actually join with and come together at the table with, and not just staying separate and purposely staying back. Okay, so you want to download the Black Law and Bouvier dictionaries on that on the slide previously that has all the different dictionaries to be able to help you, so you can start a word search. Maybe even get a notebook, spiral notebook or a loose leaf notebook, and start doing your own word search and look up and start keeping. Or if you had a 3-ring binder that you find it online, print out the different definitions and stuff, and putting your own notes on it, things like however, to help you with starting to get to know what words you're using, because that's where the babble comes in. If you don't know what words you're using, you're speaking babble. Review the articles on self-governance. You can go to searchonavonrights.com. You want to make sure you bookmark that. You can enter the article number or the name of the article, or you can do a keyword search or by topic. And that is going to be, you may even want to keep that on your, as like your home page or something like that, as your go-to. That is going to be your go-to place to search through Anna's articles. It's over I think we're into 4,800 now of articles. So that's going to be your go-to. But if you do go to AnnaVonRights.com, which is the oldest first chronological order of all of our articles, start at scrolling all the way down to the very bottom to work through it, because as things have changed and the different bankruptcies, the different things have been occurring, processes have changed. So many are still trying to do older processes that are no longer necessary. So, and Anna really right now has been pumping out a lot of public international notices that are very supportive that you'll want to take time to read. So, and you can also go to Search Anna Von Rights and do public international notice to be able to pull them all up in one place. So, some helpful tips. Make sure you bookmark that. It will be your number one go-to source for Anna's articles. And then think about self-governance in respect to you. Were you really being self-governing, or were you just following the easier route of what everybody else was doing, of what that was supposed to, what they all thought it was supposed to be of those steps? And how can you come into truth within yourself of where it's actually you being self-governing rather than just following the crowd? All right, again, you're going to bookmark. So here's for Search Anna Von Rights. If you go to searchannavonrights.com, it'll redirect you to searchannavonrights.americanstatenationals.org. Fine, same place. AnnaVonRights.com is the blog in chronological order, where this is the search of it. Then there's the TASA site. It's the American States Assembly. That's where it has all the core templates for your correction status and standing. This 50 state site. And I've specifically got the link to the educational tab, because that is where you're going to want to read everything on that page. Terry, she is the state coordinator on Washington State, and she is the moderator with Anna on Monday nights from day one. And she has that challenge out there. Start with 10 minutes a day of finding something, spending 10 minutes a day on that site, on that page, just that page of spending 10 minutes of going through there reading things. And if you can expand out to where you can have an hour of study time blocked out, more power to you, because there's a lot of that background information is going to be there for you. You'll also want to review brief report in English. Here is the Declaration of Flag document by James Belcher. So you'll be able to see the declaration of our peace flag. ASN Secure has the PDFs. I think it's asnsecure.com has the PDFs of her books. But you can also, there's links, I think, here to the store as well. So some good bookmarks that you'll want to make sure you get. All right. So before we go into these segments, any questions or comments? Okay. We'll go ahead and keep going. Let me see if I can check Telegram if I'm Everything should be, I hope everything's still going good there. I don't know it. Oh, it hasn't been recording all this time on, oh goodness. But it's been live, so let me pick up here. Alright, sorry about that, Telegram. It's a partial recording for this call, but you'll have to then come over to YouTube to be able to get it. Sorry, guys. See, this is where having state nationals that have this kind of tech support can be able to step in and be able to support and help navigate all the some of this stuff here to help. Alright. Oh, hold on. Got a... Nope, that would be here. This one here. Let's see. Let's scroll this up. Oh, okay. So we should still be screen sharing on... Yeah, we're still screen sharing on... And this should still... Yeah, that's still screen share. Okay. Tell the technology. Alright. So... Now we'll move into disclaimer. If you're involved in commerce when you're obligated, then you are obligated to obey the municipal traffic codes. Okay? At least until we stand up our state and effect changes. So if you are choosing to operate in commerce, then you have to obey the municipal traffic codes. But if you're operating in trade, not in commerce, but it's all in how you're able to articulate that, then you're not subject to those municipal traffic codes. So, for example, if you're going to the grocery store because you're going to get groceries for your family, you're not operating in commerce in that moment. So therefore, the municipal traffic codes do not apply to you. But you've got to be able to know how to articulate that as to why, and be able to cite their own reference codes to them as well that recognizes that you're not operating in commerce in that moment. Because there is no set script, because every situation is different. So there's not going to be a set script. Right? And you're going to need to, have some ideas on that. And do the homework and take that time. Because we care about our fellow man, we encourage having auto insurance in case of an accident or injury, unless you do have the ability to set aside some funds to be able to, as an emergency in case you did need it. As self-governing men and women, we travel safely, looking out for our neighbors, not imbibing substances while we travel in our autos. And notice the terminologies: traveling in autos, imbibing substances. Following all reasonable and helpful signage for keeping travel safe on the roads. Some of that does have benefit. It is actually for safety. So that's where you also have to, be self-aware as to, I have discovered that if there is a place where you've been going like 50 miles an hour and all of a sudden it drops to 30 real quick, there's a reason. It's either going to be a really sharp curve or you're coming into a neighborhood area. There's a reason. And it is about safety. So there's, things to think about. It's not, it's not always one of those road traps either, right? Think about the safety of others. And those signs, you still need to be aware of those signs. They are helpful. We're not encouraging you to not register your plates. Anna's asking for us all to not poke the bear right now, but take note. If you owe anyone anything, any corporation, even a buy here, pay here, if you owe on that car or truck, you don't own it yet. So you're subject to, if that car lot or wherever you got it from, if they want you to have that license through the state, you have to abide by that, because it's not yours yet. So bear that in mind. Then if you do own it outright, and you have declared your status, we do have what's called a private auto deed, But you can't do it retroactive. You can't think you're going to have a situation where they take your vehicle from you, your car from you, thinking it's their vehicle, their property, because as far as they're concerned it is. You can't turn around now and decide you're going to do a private auto deed when you haven't done the paperwork to do your status correction to give you the standing to own anything. And think you're going to be able to get your car back. Pay attention. It's one thing to participate in this class, to share ideas, to work out and practice scenarios, but doing it on the side of the road with a cop acting out his childhood fantasy to finally have power and control over another human being is an entirely different situation. I don't care how tough you think you are, that's a stressful situation fraught with pitfalls. And do not think, call Christine. I can't help you. If you want something like that, then you need to call a legal attorney to deal with their case. I can't help you. I am not here to give you any legal advice. I am not your private consultant either to walk you through the process when you haven't even finished declaring who you are and can't even figure out who you are yet. I'm not. There's no way I am not there for you to do that. And I won't do that. You got yourself into that situation. This is not a get out of jail free card. It's not a quick fix band-aid. So don't think there's any kind of illusions here. And you have to be the one to do it. It's not me. You're responsible for your actions. Don't think you're throwing it off on me. It's your responsibility. That's how self-governing Americans do things. We're responsible for our own actions. Special note to anyone using the information presented here or anywhere else. We are not telling you in any way what to do in each situation because we don't know. We weren't there, so we don't have first-hand knowledge of what's going on. Moreover, we don't know what had led up to it because we don't know exactly what all of anything coming up to that. That's an unfair situation to put someone in because you do not want to take your own responsibility for your lack of action and knowledge. We're simply giving you examples, ideas, and suggestions on how to create your own approach to a given situation. We are peaceful and lawful men and women. We uphold the public law, which means then if something happens, you then have to do something. That's where you do that internal time to do the homework, come up with what you've got to prepare to be able to present. To who are you presenting it to? You need to know who you're presenting it to, let alone before you even think, well, I got to come up with a cover letter. You don't even know what you're trying to present. Because you have to look at what's happened and then go into the homework that's been given, because the information has been given in topic, subject order. Don't look to say, I need a personal consult because I need you to tell me exactly how to do this, when you don't follow any of the other advice and suggestions that's been given. Again, you must do your own research to formulate your plan to deal with encounters and practice it over and over again in advance. Don't put yourself in any position until you're confident and not filled with fear from years of conditioning. Now, the more that start coming to support, a way that you can be able to support the assembly is more of you come together and we can have side sections after the various calls where everybody comes together just to have a travel discussion of things that you've experienced, and if you have worked out a scenario that you can do that, working off of each other, of working through those scripts, processes, and things, we can be able to do that. But it's coming together. It's not trying to purposely stay separated. It's coming together. There are ways we can be able to help support each other. Okay, the truth. Do you know who you are? We are the people, uppercase P, we're the employers. The uppercase P are the employers and creators of the government and original constitutions. We created it. We created the enabling acts. We are the lowercase people that are public servants take an oath to serve and protect, not to harass. The truth is that most municipal police believe that motor vehicle codes are actual laws. MVC are rules created for commercial vehicles and contain only definitions of commercial terms such as vehicle, driving, passenger, traffic, transportation, etc. When you speak to them in terms like that, you're in commerce. You have to start changing your own language, your own verbiage. And this is where coming together, coming to the table with others that are going to use the word car, truck, or automobile instead of vehicle. And that they're operators or they're in travel rather than driving. They're not passengers. We're family and friends going for a ride in the car or truck. We're not out in traffic. We're traveling on the roads. It's not our transportation. It's our mode of conveyance. Policy enforcers enforce the policy of the municipal franchise subcontractor that employs them. Those policies are created by the AAMVA, American Association of Motor Vehicle Administration. Did you, when you were as a municipal citizen, do you ever remember anything coming to the ballot that said that your state would agree to the motor vehicle designations of this American Association of Motor Vehicle Administration? Did you ever think, did that ever come to you as a voter in that world as to accepting whether to use this as the how to create those policies? I didn't remember ever hearing of that. Did you? A largely foreign, unelected, non-governmental membership organization that your DMV participates in. AAMVA.org. Okay? So again, that wasn't designated by the people in the Indiana Constitution. Our God-given, unalienable right to life, freedom, and the pursuit of happiness that includes our right to travel unmolested. 1 Corinthians 10:23. I have the right to do anything, but not everything is beneficial. I have the right to do anything, but not everything is constructive. That's the New Living Translation. I'm not sure what the I is, but I standard version, I want to say. Everything is permissible, but not everything is helpful. Everything is permissible, but not everything builds up. And then the Geneva version of 1 Corinthians here is, all things are lawful for me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful for me, but all things edify not. So choose wisely, use discernment. We're all self-governing. You make the decisions how you will conduct yourselves. And you will take full responsibility. Rather than anger LEOs, let them write you a citation, and when you autograph it, actually include. This is something many people, and they say, well, because you know it's not going to be on their paperwork of having the note. So make sure it's in your own wet ink, by colon. First, full middle name, last name, copyright symbol at the end. Make sure both ends are covered. Not just one, and not just part of it, and then put all rights reserved. No, you have to have both ends, and you put the purpose of saying by, because it's by you. Remember, it's of, by, and for the people. You are the by, the people. Okay? But you can include all rights reserved without prejudice. I do not consent. No contract. If you feel they're being aggressive, add under threat, duress, and coercion. Yes, we are the creators of this society via our ancestors. Yes, we deserve and are owed the right to travel unmolested. But at the same time, you have to defend, you have to be able to support that. You have to show that you know what's even going on and how to handle yourself in that. Okay, Regulation Z. The following slides on Regulation Z are excerpts from Anna's article, The Big Fraud in Very Simple Terms. And here is a link to that. It's about private property, lawful funds, and the right to travel. Banking rules were adopted to protect the private property that was being leveraged in the corporate system. Regulation Z, which is an international banking and securities regulation that was adopted by the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, and which resulted in the Consumer Protection Acts, including the Truth in Lending Act. Look, copy and paste that into your search engine. Both of those, Consumer Protection Act, Truth in Lending Act. Private property is supposed to be protected by attaching Z tags to it. The clueless bill collectors and revenue agents patrolling our streets are supposed to recognize the tags if they recognize nothing else. They're supposed to be able to leave cars, homes, land, etc., displaying the proper Z tags alone. So here is an example. Here is what the Z tag looks like. In America, because we have two foreign subcontractors at odds with each other, we need two kinds of Z tags to accomplish this function. The white Z, this bottom one Z with the black background, is for municipal bill collectors. The black Z with a white background is territorial bill collectors. The idea was that it was outrageous enough that they were using your assets to profit themselves and forcing all Americans to pay the municipal government debts under false pretenses without also endangering your actual property and making it subject to seizure and failure to pay their debts. So, like all the other remedy that was supposed to be afforded to every American, none of this was ever explained. To this day, the bill collectors and revenue agents remain largely ignorant about what a Z tag even means. Which I want to state, though, because it's dealing with territorial and municipal, that's where you were canceling your voter registration and the revocation of election to pay taxes to IRS, DC, and New York are going to back this up for you. Okay? And to top it off, they never explained Regulation Z to the American population enough or at all to make them aware of their protections. So the one remedy that remained, the one thing that was supposed to be a fail-safe to protect our private property from being stolen under false pretenses, was never actually made available to Americans like you either. So start plastering the Z tags, white on black and black on white, on your homes and automobiles and everything else you don't want stolen. Okay, so here's an example where the assembly has where here's for on a car sticker. Here's a sticker that you can be able to use to put on. Think about obviously what you're putting it on, you know. We have ASN credential cards. We have credentials, not ID. ID is identification of property. We have credentials because we're living beings. Okay. And here's examples of what they look like. Here we have a Indiana, as you can see over here on the right, of a generic plate that includes the Z's on it, as well as if you wanted one that was unique that had your county and then a number with it, if you wanted that as well. And of course here are the stickers. Alright, so I want to go ahead and do this quick video to be able to wrap this up. Now let me see how I can switch this now. Stop that. Now I want to go to broadcaster. It should... Oh, no. I need to go into... It's on Telegram. So I want to screen share, though, the desktop here for free conference call. And so YouTube has it, but I'm playing it from Telegram. So let's see how, let's get that. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I have to bring this down. Here we go. Telegram. Because it's in here. Let's see. Oh, I have it in there. Okay, so that was also my reminder that we have in Telegram. We have the At Home on Indiana for assembly, all general stuff. If you wanted to, if you live on Indiana today, you can be able to connect with us here. We also have the new member orientation, which is what we're also airing on here. And the video we want for that. Oh, it's in the travel because we have topic ones. Let's see. Here, travel. And it's to share this video.
Yeah, how's it going?
Hold on.
Have registration.
Let me get this. I apologize. Sorry. Get the sound adjusted here.
Yeah, I don't use registration or license when I travel. I'm not a United States citizen. I'm a state national.
Okay, so do you have a driver's license?
No, I use a passport when I travel.
Do you have a passport?
Yeah, I got a passport. Would you like to see it?
Please.
There you go.
You reside in California?
No.
Who's the vehicle registered to?
Well, I own the vehicle. I have my MCO right here. It's not registered to the state.
Do you plan on registering it?
No, I let the registration expire
I
because,
see that. So then should I take your vehicle?
well, no, I don't think that that's reasonable.
It's legal. It's a vehicle.
Yeah, but it's not lawful.
It's
I'm not operating in commerce. I'm not operating in commerce. You guys have the authority to regulate commerce, right?
Yeah, well, whatever.
Well, what do you mean whatever? What do you mean whatever?
I don't understand all that stuff, so I see where this is going. So anyway, the vehicle code in California states that if you're going to drive a vehicle in California, own one.
This is an automobile, not a motor vehicle. By definition of the California vehicle code, I got it right here. I'm not operating in commerce, so there's no reason for you to regulate me.
All right, got it.
That's all.
No worries.
But I do have private insurance. I'm not driving out here or traveling.
Can I see your insurance?
No, it's private. But I've communicated with the authorities, and they know who I am.
Who's that? Who are the authorities?
Well,
I don't know who you are. I'm an authority person.
Well, the Barbara Rooney, I've talked to her. She has an injunction from me. So I mean, I have a name decree. So I'm not even. You guys administer the estates of the dead, okay? That's why you have. That's you, the police, policy enforcers for the United States Corporation. That's why you guys are police and not sheriff. So you have codes, statutes, regulations, and that's what you enforce. But I'm not a person in commerce right now, and so that's all. That's all.
Make sure this is clear. We'll be good.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
And again, this is in our Telegram new member orientation travel channel to be able to go back to listen to this again. You'll see he's still keeping his composure. He's reviewing his information. And remember, he said he was a state national. He did not say that he was a state citizen or a sovereign citizen. He said he was a state national. You cannot be a sovereign citizen because you can't be sovereign and acting as a citizen in the same moment. I'm not sure how long this segment is. But he has to have an opportunity to be able to look it up. And you'll see his body language. He's calm, collected. You're not seeing him breathing heavily as though fear is rising. He's keeping calm and making sure that he's reviewing his information. Again, I'm not sure about speeding it up too much because I don't want to. The technology aspect. Here we go. Okay.
So I normally issue fix-it tickets for this. How does this work with you?
Fix-it tickets?
Yeah, for registration. So fix-it ticket.
Well, I mean, I'm not obligated to have registration if I'm not operating in commerce.
Right, but
So-
I'm obligated to write a fix-it ticket for your vehicle.
I mean, if you want to write me or hand me a ticket, I mean, I'll rescind it and I'll rescission it.
Okay, that's
I
fine.
mean, I don't think it's worth your time.
Probably not, but I gotta do something.
All right. Well, I mean, I was about
That's
to get
why I'm
in and out.
asking.
I'd
That's-
rather just talk with you about this
that's
and
why
keep
I'm-
it civil, and we
that's
don't
why
have
I'm
to
asking.
do this. I mean, aren't you curious as to, this
We
whole
all have our
process?
beliefs, not really.
No. Well, I went to the
I
state.
mean, I would,
I went to
but-
the State Department,
But
and
you
I.
have a passport, so you
Yeah.
you live in the United States, so you have to believe in some laws, right?
Well, sure, I believe in law. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between law and policy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah. I mean,
when
I
I'm
follow policies.
when I'm traveling around, I mean, you
Like
you,
the
you took an
police-
oath when you become a police officer, right?
Like a
To defend the
policy-
Constitution.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and I served 20 years in the Marine
Oh,
Corps.
all right. So you should know that part of the Declaration of Independence, which is what the Constitution is constituting, right? We're moving
Right.
forward. It talks about liberty, right?
Yep.
And so you're taking an oath to defend the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence. Liberty means the right of locomotion. Okay? That's right out of Black's Fourth Dictionary. So I have the right to move about, and it also is my free speech. How can I go and have free speech and assemble and have my constitutional right if I have to have a license to move around? That right there is against my rights. I mean, this is a document from, yeah, but it's pertaining to the fact that people have rescinded their contracts with the federal government, and they're moving out, and it says, look, your law enforcement may be unaware of this, right?
You're free to go. I don't want to have you any longer so that it turns into a detention because I can only have you stop for so long.
I appreciate
You
it.
can continue talking, but just so you know, you're free to go.
I appreciate your help.
So
Thank
now, if you talk, you know I'm not holding you here, and you can.
Got it. Well, I'd love to continue
I've
talking
never-
with you.
I've-
I mean,
I've-
this is just one. This is
This
just one
like
example.
Sovereign citizenship.
Oh, sovereign citizens are idiots.
And that's where
You can't
first-
be sovereign and a citizen at the same time.
No, because
It's an
you're not
oxymoron.
believing in one or the
Well,
other.
it's an oxymoron. A sovereign is someone who's their own king, right?
Just drive safe. I'm impressed you have.
Travel safe. Driving is the commercial term. See, this is how they get us with diction, right? If you say driving, then suddenly you're in a motor vehicle, right? And that's a commercial term. And so, I mean, and I can walk you through it. It's really quite
If I had
simple.
time, I would do it. But
All right.
You took the time out enough. You have to learn something.
Well, and it goes a lot deeper than that, I mean, but
I believe it. It does.
yeah,
We all have our things.
well, if you have a card, I'd be happy to send you information about what this process. I think there are a lot more people you're going to be pulling over a lot more people and seeing a lot more of this. So.
Well, in my 8 years, this is the first. I pulled over.
And check this out.
sovereign
You think that's cool?
But
This
I knew
is
right away. I'm like, this isn't sovereign.
This is a
citizen,
decree
something
from the
else.
judge, right?
Right.
And I've changed my name from all caps, right,
Right.
to a proper stylization. Okay.
Okay.
And now this has to do with when you're born, they create a trust in your all caps name.
Right.
And then they basically trick everybody, or we all assume that as our identity. That's why every government paper you've ever had or any bills that come to your house, they're all in your all caps name. But that's not you. You're actually this name.
Right.
And the reason why you can't give me a ticket, except for something in my all caps name, is because at the highest levels, you guys are administering the estates and the trusts of everyone.
Check it out.
Well, and when you change your name,
Right.
I'm out of the system now. I can no longer be administered by the policy enforcers. Because it's all, the public is the dead.
I'm
It's
gonna check it out.
it's quite fascinating. Anyway,
Have a good night.
have a wonderful day. I'm gonna get some
Thanks for your
food.
cooperation.
Well, you guys do a really dangerous job, and I really appreciate everything you do. With the way that the nation's going right now, I mean, all right, brother. I appreciate you so much. All right, thank you.
Just going within the policy, it's a verbal warning, but you're not paying for it. Just verbal warning.
Thank you. So, what was your name? Pleasure to deal with.
If you ask me, give it to you.
Thank you. Well, and I think what's happening right now is we're going back to a republic, right? That's why all this craziness is happening.
We're headed to some pretty drastic changes.
I think
myself.
everyone's feeling that. So something's got to break.
Be safe.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it.
All right. So that was that. And again, you can go into our Telegram channel for new member orientation, the topic of travel, to be able to replay that if there was trouble hearing it. Because again, technology, I'm trying to work through Telegram, free conference call, YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey. Okay, so again, if you're a state national that has knowledge in working with these things, please speak out, and that would be great if you could be able to help. All right, so I want to make sure things are okay. So we'll wrap this up. We're getting to that point. All right, so we've completed all 3 courses. Congratulations. Otherwise, you're welcome to start with the next one and the new cycle. So give constructive feedback. It really does help us to make sure the course is more streamlined to help our new people coming in. And if you're interested in a way to we're looking for nationals that are interested in helping to support this new member orientation. Of being able to, if you wanted to start giving these calls yourself based on the presentation. Or if you wanted to become a mentor and be able to come to these calls so that you could, so as new people start coming, and they had questions, that you can be that one to be able to help answer some questions for them as well. Various ways that you can be able to help support the assembly. Again, here is the resources information. You can also go to Linktree for all the assembly links. And that may be changing as we're discovering Linktree in their terms, which we're not paying for the service, we're using the free service, but evidently in their terms and conditions, they have the ability to censor material. So we are trying to find alternatives to be able to have one place of all the links. Also, and you'll see this on the TASA site for the nationwide calls of Yay, I'm on the land, now what? That's a great one. That is being held weekly by Michelle. She is the California State Coordinator, and she does a wonderful job. She's an amazing woman. All right, so this is the end of the presentation. I want to put out there, are there any questions, comments? Stop that. There's that shit. Oh, I wonder. I bet I didn't finish out sharing that on. Oh yeah, it's sharing for free conference, so it should have been able to see what was going on. What was shared on the desktop there. All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for taking the time to join us on the call. And I welcome you again. In about a half hour, 6 o'clock Central, is the Jural Assembly and Militia Assembly. Again, if you're living on Indiana today, you're welcome to these calls. But of course, as you present your paperwork, you have more opportunity to be able to do more support. So I want to thank you, and I wish you peace and love. Have a great and amazing day. Love to you all. Thank you, Wayne. You and Terry have a great night as well.